Hello, my love, and welcome back to the Energy Expansion Podcast. I'm so excited to bring you into this conversation today. We're going to go in a few different directions, but the bulk of this conversation is going to be me bringing you behind the scenes of a recent experience that I had. If we're connected on any of the social medias, you maybe heard me share a little bit about it, but the timing of this feels insanely perfect. This time last week, it was day 5 of a 5-day in-person immersion for a Master Practitioner certification event. And this day last week, we were wrapping up that 5-day experience. And on that day, I actually got to guide one of the most incredible women that I've ever met. I love her so much. Hello, Jess. I'm going to make sure that you get access to this. I got to guide her through a full-blown NLP breakthrough day. And I have so much to share about that. But we're going to back up for just a minute. I wanted to give you a little bit of context that this conversation is going to be me bringing you behind the scenes, not just of that particular day, but I really want to let you in to what that whole experience was all about. And a bulk of that is going to be around the breakthrough days, me being able to be coached for an entire day. I was on day 4. I got to receive a breakthrough day. When I say that it was life-changing, that is exactly what it was. There's no exaggeration with that. It was one of the most life-changing experiences that I've ever had the privilege of being a part of. I say one of the most life-changing experiences because I've shared many things with you guys, like my birth stories. I don't know that this tops some of my birth stories, but it's right up there, definitely in the top handful. And so a couple of things that I wanted to share with you as I'm bringing you into this is other things that are connected to this. So right now, I'm inside of a really beautiful membership specifically for moms. It's a motherhood and marriage life coaching situation. I really love it. It's fun to be with other moms who dream bigger, want bigger, and every month there's a different virtue. And this month's virtue is resilience. And it was interesting because I'd come back from the in-person experience and then the very next day hopped on one of our sisterhood calls for this community. And full disclosure, I like to be a really good student and I did not watch the initial teaching about resilience, but I just wanted to be in community with these other women. Like I love being in community with them. I'm curious if you feel that same way. And so I was hearing everyone else's perspectives and takes on what resilience has meant to them this month. And I started getting choked up because I was able to look at my recent experience of resilience and it connects so beautifully to this 5-day experience. But I want to bring you into this. So this feels big. This feels like a milestone as we are coming close to a full year of having this podcast. It's almost the 1-year birthday of our official launch, which was December 31st of 2024. And we're just a few weeks away from that. But I think there's something really special about long form content and us being on this journey together, releasing podcast episodes almost every single week. And what I mean by that is I've really done my best to bring you behind the scenes. And there might have been a layer of depth and nuance that I was afraid to really touch or go there with you. But I think it's safe to say that I have pretty candidly shared some highs, but mostly the lows. A lot of the lows earlier this year, things that I was struggling with personally, professionally, mentally, emotionally, physically, very much the way that I am. Like I'm a seeker. I want to try all the things and I want to squeeze every ounce of the juice that life has. I'm so curious how many of you can relate to that. And I think that this year was about integration. I was going to say a level of complacency. And I don't actually think that that's what it was. And also, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with anything that you're experiencing right now in this current season of life. So I was going to say, if you feel like you're in a complacent season, that's okay. But I was feeling like this was a year of integration and me sort of finding my way back to safety, where my go-to is like, 1,000,000 miles a minute. How hard, how fast, how much can we jump out of our comfort zone? It's sort of a way that I've trained myself. And this year was not that. And it wasn't supposed to be that. I'm curious again if you can relate to that. And so it was really this year of softening, of settling, of grounding, of finding safety at sort of a new baseline. And the realization that I had last week around this conversation of resilience is in the last 90 days of this year, I have very intentionally said yes to hard things. For instance, saying yes to the Master Practitioner certification. I have actually known for years that I wanted to do this again. I won't take you into that whole scene, but I'd signed up for this with a different program, never saw it through to the finish line, and that didn't feel good for me. And I have to be completely honest that saying yes to a 9 month intensive, we're literally meeting every single week, multiple hours a week. Like it is a lot. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of work. That was not on my bingo card this year. Yet when it presented itself, everything in me said, you can say yes to this. And it literally felt like I needed to move some mountains to make it happen from our weekly calls to this 5-day immersion. And I knew it was going to be hard when I said yes to it, and I'm fully showing up for it. And I also had this realization of the health journey that I've been on. The way that I've showed up for myself, cutting out processed food and refined sugar, and the gut reset that I did, literally only eating organic fruits and vegetables for 30 days and actually keeping that promise to myself. That was hands down one of the hardest things I've ever done in any area of my life. And again, I knew it was going to be hard when I said yes to it. And so I had this exciting moment last week around this conversation of resilience when I realized, oh my gosh, I am purposely choosing to put myself in uncomfortable situations, in situations where a past version of me would have given up, would have cheated. I would have eaten the thing that I wasn't supposed to eat. I would have reached for the candy bin. I would have made an excuse. I would have turned around and walked away. And again, if you're in a season of needing to turn around and walk away, if you're in a season of not being able to stick to the plan and that's right and true for you, there's no judgment. But I'm really excited because what I am realizing is the integration and the embodiment worked it this year. The work works, my friends, and I am coming back into a position of saying yes to the hard things because I know that I can do them. The uncomfortable things because I know that growth happens when we're uncomfortable. And you're also not meant to do hard things 24/7 every day of the year for your entire life. And that was just really interesting for me. And I wanted to bring you into that because I've brought you into so many other things this year. And I also wanted to share that with you because I'm really curious if that helps you start to get clear of like, ooh, what kind of season am I in? Am I in a season of softening, opening, slowing down, integrating, embodying what I've learned? Am I in a season of discovering and spontaneity and adventure and trying new things and taking the metaphorical leap in some area of your life? Maybe you're in a season of trying new things that feel hard, intentionally expanding your own capacity. I think it can be really helpful any time of the year, but specifically this time of the year to really look at what season am I in? What am I being invited into? So that was what I wanted to share with you, that little riff about resilience and my own aha moments around that. And then leading into this conversation around the Master Prac immersion, again, because of the time and the effort and the energy, as I said before, it was not on my bingo card for 2025. And also it's been so fun and so expansive and so life-giving and really truly speaks to the testament of the magic and the miracles and the mysteries that life presents us with. And very much in my manifesting generator, sacral authority nature, following the thing that felt right, even though it literally made no logical sense. I'm like, okay, intuition, okay, life, okay, God, I see what you were doing there. And I want you to know that one of the things, this feels really vulnerable, one of the things that I had in mind as I was going into, so I've been part of the certification for a few months now, but leading up to the 5-day intensive immersion, literally learning from like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then coaching or being coached for an entire day on our last 2 days, which were Sunday and Monday. I wanted to go into this event having a really clear intention. And one of the things that I could not help really connect with was remembering my word or my theme for this year. If you chose a word or a theme for this year, I want to invite you to bring that to the present moment. And my word or the theme, if you missed it, is own it. And I think there's some ways I'd sort of danced around that. I think there was a day or two, or maybe more, this year where I like really fully embraced it. But I was going into this 5-day Master Prac experience, which has happened in November. So there's like a handful of weeks left in the year. And if I'm being completely honest, I was like, I might need to carry that theme over for all of 2026. And there's nothing wrong with having the same theme for a couple of years. But I was like, I don't feel like I've really truly owned it. And I would love to walk away from this experience having felt that. And owning it for me means lots of different things. I can refer you to different podcast episodes where we've taught this, but it was really interesting because as I was thinking about this, and those of you who identify as healers, you'll appreciate this. So much of my work I really do see as healing. I don't do hands-on healing per se, but I kept feeling this energy around my hands when I was talking about own it in conjunction with the Master Practitioner certification. And I really understood that as I want to walk away. My intention is I absolutely will, this was me declaring my intention, that I will walk away from this experience fully owning my gifts as a master coach and as a healer. The first couple of days were really deepening everything that we had learned up until this point. We were learning advanced strategies, like how to get that same result, but to get it faster. There was a level of efficiency. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is very out of the norm. I think when you're healing, there's often a pendulum swing between how we do things, like from one extreme to the other. And there was a version of me that used to want to do things as fast and as efficiently as humanly possible. And then I started to slow down a little bit the last couple of years. And that shows up in my coaching. Sometimes I really just let us savor whatever technique we're in, whatever we're doing. And there's nothing bad or wrong about that. But there was a level of efficiency where I was like, oh, that technique normally takes me 20 minutes. And you just taught me a way to do it in about 4 minutes. I am so here for that. And so that was a big part of this experience, was finding advanced and accelerated ways to help people get the same results or even better results. And that excites me because I am now equipped to help you experience so much more in the same amount of time that we'd normally be together. We can do quadruple the amount of techniques, which is just really speaking to the bigness and the power. So there was that mastering what we were learning new advanced techniques. I was blown away by the efficiency, by the speed of the breakthroughs, watching the women who it's an intimate cohort. I'm going to claim, I don't know what the other cohorts look like, but this has got to be the best master practitioner certification cohort that has ever existed. I'm obsessed with these women. They're truly extraordinary. So watching us get coached in real time and then practicing it immediately, the level of speed and mastery was fantastic. One other thing that I'm super excited about is I'm now officially trained in a modality known as breath work. And that brings me an immense amount of joy and excitement because breathwork is something that has been one of the most life-changing tools that I have ever experienced. I found breathwork in a season of life where I was really needing something else in my toolkit, and that was a game changer. And I'm often referring people to breathwork practices, but up until now, I haven't actually been equipped or trained to guide them, and now I am. I got to lead my first ever group breathwork session and putting together a playlist and finding the breath pattern and the cadence and helping them find safety and actually using physical touch because we were in person, just noticing what energy bodies were needing love, where these women were holding tension in their body. It was extraordinary. So little bits and pieces of what was happening in those first few days. But what I really want to bring you into is the breakthrough experience. Again, if I didn't already say it, I was the receiver of a breakthrough experience on day 4, and then I got to be the giver on day 5. And both of those experiences for me were insanely life-changing, especially with me going in with the intention of really stepping into the own it energy. There was just this reminder of all of the work that I've done for the last 12 years has not been in vain. And there's been this beautiful compound effect of how every part of my journey, every investment, every skill, every choice has really built on one another. And so on day 4, it was my day to receive the breakthrough experience. And to give you an insight into an NLP breakthrough experience, I want to bring you into the structure, but it is legitimately a full day. Like, to really do a breakthrough experience in the way it's designed, you ideally want 7 to 8 hours, which is like mind-boggling. But what we begin with is a personal detailed history. And so we are asking, or in this case, I was being asked some initial questions. Why are you here today? What is it that you want more than anything? And we focus on different areas of life. And the area of life that I wanted to focus on, I think every single one of us, actually, we're all entrepreneurs, we're all coaches, we're all healers. I think all 5 of us chose the area of career. There's a life wheel, and so there's different areas of life that you can choose from. I know for sure me and my partner, who we were giving and receiving to one another, we both chose career, having a breakthrough in that area. So we start with the detailed personal history. What is it that you want? What are you experiencing right now? What is the problem or the problems? What will be possible when these problems no longer exist? We are, even just in the detailed personal history, we're already weaving in techniques. We're doing reframes and we're using metaphors, and there's things called meta programs, and where we're asking really clever questions and helping the person redefine the way that their brain is relating to whatever area of life it is or whatever the problem is. So it's so cool because you get to the end of the intake process and things are already happening. Shifts in the brain, in the body, in your energy field are already starting to happen. You're breaking up a lot of the density, a lot of the power that whatever the problem or problems are have. And then it goes really deep. Then we start asking about what was happening in your childhood that you can see those patterns, those thoughts, those beliefs, those dynamics. What role is that playing in the current problem? And you better believe that stirs up a lot. We want to know the dynamic between your mom, your dad, your siblings, if you have any. We are just going so incredibly deep. And again, weaving in different types of techniques in this, but then also noting what we're going to do throughout the day. It's so incredible. Then from there, we go into something known as values elicitation. This is a game changer. I learned this many years ago and admittedly forgot how powerful this is, but I need you to know that everything we do in any area of our life, all areas of our life, comes down to what we value. And a lot of times that's happening unconsciously. If there is an area of your life and you're not enjoying the experience, it's very likely that there are things that you value, and then the choices you're making, the words you're speaking, what is happening in your actual reality are going against your values. That is a number one way, that is a prime way to have a life experience that does not feel aligned. So whenever there's any bit of misalignment, things feeling off, things feeling crazy making, it's a really good opportunity to look at, okay, what area of life is the thing that I'm not enjoying happening in, and what do I value most? This is something that I can help you with if you'd like help with that. So I did values for my business, and then what we find out do we value something because it's something we want? Are we moving towards it? Or do we value something because we're trying to run away from what we don't want? That's so interesting because at any given moment, you are either being propelled towards running towards your desired future, or you're running away from something you don't want. And so the goal by the end of the breakthrough day is to make sure that everything is happening from our highest expression, that we are toward motivated versus trying to run away, that our values are no longer dictated by fears or limiting beliefs. It's truly fascinating. Once we're done with values elicitation, that's where it's a few hours of, I want to say, a little bit of a free for all with release work. This is where we can weave in all of the different things that we've learned, from parts integration to different types of somatic techniques, to time techniques, to hypnosis. There's another really cool thing that we learned called prime concerns, and it's really helping people understand the way that they're relating to what they want and what they don't want, and reprogramming the way that their mind thinks about that, their perspectives. One of the things that are a required part of release work is a series of time techniques. These are some of my favorite tools. If you're a client of mine, chances are you've experienced this either in a group setting or one-on-one. When I first signed up for my regular prac level, which again was 6 years ago, almost to a T, I was at my in-person prac level in November of 2019, which is so crazy to think about. But when I first signed up for that, I had no idea that I would fall madly in love with time techniques. That was one of those things that was like included on the sales page. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but I'm excited about hypnosis, and I'm excited about EFT, and I'm excited about NLP. And I love all of those things, and I use all of those things, but time techniques are hands down my favorite. And so inside of an NLP breakthrough day, you're not necessarily always using emotional freedom technique.
All right, love, real quick pause because I have to tell you about something that is truly life-changing. If you've been in my world for any amount of time, then there is a 99.9% chance that you have heard me talk about Energy Expansion Academy, which is my signature group coaching program where I teach the exact tools, rituals, mindset shifts that helped me create a life that goes beyond my wildest dreams and has transformed the lives of hundreds of women that I've had the honor of serving. And for the first time ever, it is now available as a self-paced experience. That means you get to move through this powerful transformation on your own terms and your own timing, and in full alignment with your life. This is for the woman who's ready to shift her energy, elevate her mindset, and finally become the most confident, fulfilled, and successful version of herself. Without the hustle, without the overwhelm, and without the second guessing. If you've been feeling the nudge to join us inside of EEA, then this, my love, is your sign. You'll find the link in the show notes or just DM me EEA on Instagram and I'll personally send it your way. Now, let's get back to the episode that you came for.
You're not always using parts integration. You're not always using hypnosis. You're going to use some combination of whatever you deem necessary or helpful, supportive for your client if you're in the position of the giver, if you're facilitating a day. But time techniques are required because part of what you're doing during an NLP breakthrough day is you are releasing from someone's timeline the core 5, they're referred to as negative emotions, and you're releasing them in a very, very specific order for a set of very good researched reasons. So immediately after my detailed personal history and my values, and I was already feeling so amazing, I was asked to lay down, where I laid for many hours. And I said, please don't make me do another time technique, but they're working, so we'll keep doing them. We went into releasing anger and then sadness. This is the order that they go in, and then fear, and then hurt, and then guilt. So those are the 5 core emotions that get released every time you do a full NLP breakthrough day. I can see the value. I get it now. I get breakthrough days. I get them now because I've been on the receiving end of them. I've given them and have seen in front of my eyes the transformation. I'm like, okay, cool. Like they work. They're awesome. It's a totally different ballgame when you have your own embodied experience of something. Like you can hold the power of it. And that was just game changing for me. And so I was curious about this because I'm like, well, what if I raise my hand? I raise my hand a lot. I am in a season of life where I'm not going to pretend that I know something if I don't actually know it. I'm not going to fake understand something. And that feels like a big deal for me because little Dani did not like raising her hand. Someone would say, Dani, do you understand? And I'd be like, no, I don't understand in my head. But I'd say, yeah, I get it. I get it because I didn't want to be the one that asked the questions. I didn't want to have people think I was a slow learner or I was dumb. And you're not a slow learner and you're not dumb if you have questions. And so I am constantly raising my hand. So I raised my hand a lot during these 5 days. And I said, even if you meet with somebody 4 times a year or twice a year for breakthrough days, do you still release all of these emotions every single time? And the answer was yes. Yes, you do. And the thing is, you'll end up releasing them faster and faster. And then you have more time to work on other things the more you do these. Again, the compound effect. But there was a really great point. So between each of your breakthrough days, let's say you're somebody who like gets it and you do them quarterly. And I think I'm going to be that person. I want to do them quarterly now. It's like the only way I want to be coached. If you don't have 8 hours to coach me, like we just can't do this is kind of the vibe now in my mind for me. But between this month and then 3 or 4 or 6 months down the road, there's going to be a new experience of anger, right? There's going to be a new experience of sadness and fear and hurt and all the things. And so it is very important to go through and release those every single time. So you probably didn't have that question. That probably did not cross your mind. But if you did, I raised my hand and I got the answer for both of us. So we released all of those. And then the other thing, this feels so big and so important, and this was the game changing, all of it, but like this was really the game changing piece for me, is I did not have an awareness of how strong of a hold shame had on me, on my mind, on my energy field, on my body, on how I was moving through the world. And so to give you a little insight, I'm so grateful because the first 3 days, and because it was so intimate, Erin, who's the founder of QRE, the Quantum Ripple Effect, that's where I'm taking my Master Practitioner certification through. It was intimate enough where she could hear each of us. Like as we were coaching each other and we were doing our deep dives and we were practicing and all that good stuff, she could hear bits and pieces. And so there was one day when I forgot exactly what it was, but she was like, Dani, I'm noticing a pattern of shame. And now I remember. I have created a level of freedom in my life, spaciousness in my calendar that I wanted for a really long time. And I haven't actually been able to enjoy it. What I've done instead is I've created exactly what I wanted. And then I've spent the last 2 years making myself feel bad about it, making myself wrong, judging the heck out of myself, trying to convince myself that I'm doing it wrong, that I should be doing something else. If I'm doing nothing, then I should be doing something. And then I start taking an action. I convince myself I should be taking another action. I didn't know that the root of that was shame. And it was just, I'm wrong. I'm bad. No matter what I do, I'm just not going to get it right. And so she whispered to me, like, I think that's something you need to work on during your breakthrough day. And I was like, oh, like we can walk around not making ourselves wrong all day long. Like that's a reality. Because that's all I've known for as long as I've lived. And she very sweetly chuckled and she was like, yeah, no, you don't. Doesn't have to be that way. Like I don't feel that way. You don't have to feel that way. So I got really excited of like, what would life feel like? I literally was asked the question by Jess, who led my breakthrough day. She asked the question, who would you be without shame? What? And I like instantly started crying and I got excited and I also got scared because I don't know, because shame is woven into the fabric of my identity and my being, and I don't want it, but I don't know who I am without it. So shame was the 6th and final, is that right? Anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt. Yes, nailed it. 6. It was the 6th and final thing we needed to release. And there was this moment, kind of jokingly, after a good hour of time techniques, we released guilt. And I popped up and I was like, do we really have to do shame? Because shame and guilt are kind of the same. And Erin goes, I didn't know she could hear us that well. We're upstairs. She's downstairs. She goes, they're not the same, guys. I'm like, I know. Just don't make me go there. It's so crazy. The thing that we need is often the exact thing that we're avoiding. I was like, are you really going to make me do this, Jess? And she was like, yeah, we are. And just to clarify, so I teach the energetic scale of consciousness inside of every single one of my programs that I've ever hosted for the last like 5 or 6 years. It's always in the first or second module of them. It is inside of the early parts of Energy Expansion Academy, which is where I spend most of my time inside of my business right now. And when you're looking at the energetic scale of consciousness, what you see is that there is guilt, and then right below guilt is shame. And shame is the lowest vibrating emotion. It is the densest frequency in all of the human experience. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we all probably have pockets of shame, and we all have pockets of guilt and sadness and hurt. And the difference is it running your life? Because if it's running your life, that's not a good thing. If there's little pockets of it and we've got to dig into it, we've got to feel it so that we can shift it, that's okay. We're not going to make those things bad or wrong, but this was literally in the driver's seat of my life. And just to clarify, I feel like this is probably a Brene Brown thing, and I love Brene Brown. This is probably where I learned it. Guilt is, I have done something bad. I have done something wrong. Guilt has to do with our actions. Shame is, I am bad. I am wrong. Shame has to do with our identity. Those are not the same. Those are very, very different. And so my partner, Jess, took me into the shame. And I've shared this in a couple of different places. And so there's a part of me that wants to share like the expedited version of this, but this is long form content. And so I'm going to I really want to bring you into this. It was interesting because for all 6 of the emotions, anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, and shame, for all of those emotions, there were only three moments of life. So on my timeline, I kept coming back to the same few moments. 3 of them were in my mother's womb. Just think about that. Womb clearings are important, and they're real, and they're necessary. We can pick things up while we're in the womb. And we can do that in time techniques along with other types of healing modalities. And a few of them were not in the womb, but they were on the day I was born. And that was shame. So when I say that I was literally carrying a lifetime of shame, that's not just a figure of speech. It was very, very real. And I didn't know this. Like, you might not know right now where the anger originated or where the guilt, or if you're like me and you're carrying shame, you might not know exactly where it originated, and that's okay. These techniques help you access your unconscious mind so that you can identify them. I had no idea that this was happening until I knew it was happening just over a week ago, this time a week ago. And so in that moment, I was taken back to the day I was born. And for context, my mom is my best friend in the whole wide world. I love her so much. And one of the things I admire is that she was a single mom. I have so much love for all the moms, especially all the single moms. I don't know how you do it. And she did a phenomenal job. I mean, hi, we're here together. You probably feel like she did a phenomenal job. She's great. She's great. I'm going to bring her on and interview her at some point. That being said, a close family friend, I call her my aunt. We all have those aunties. A close family friend, a very good friend of my mom's, connected my mom and my dad. And they went on a couple of dates. And then they were like, hey, this is just not, like, you're not my person. Bye. Okay. And then, do I tell you this part? My mom started dating a really lovely person, from what I understand, who I never met. And a few months into dating this lovely person, she found out she was pregnant. And then she did the math and goes, oh, you have got to go, and I have to go have a conversation with this other fellow. And the other fellow was my dad, and he made it abundantly clear that he didn't want to be a part of this. And so she was like, okay, I'm going to do this all on my own. So the day I was born, the fated day, April 5th, 1987, that friend who connected my parents was at the hospital that day. And she decided, unbeknownst to my mom, She did not ask for this. My mom didn't necessarily want this, but my aunt thought she was doing the right thing. She stepped outside of the hospital. She called my father and said, Michael, you are now the father to a beautiful baby girl. He said, call my attorney, and then abruptly hung up. I have heard this story many, many times. And I also, it was heartbreaking. I was in my adult years later and I was like, what? I think I was a mother. And I like really couldn't wrap my head around this. I was born April 5th and my dad didn't meet me until November. And the only reason he met me was because it was court appointed. Like he was literally legally forced to meet me. And like, oh, right now I have my hand over my throat. That is painful to say, especially me again, being a mom and getting it. And so what I didn't realize that now I see and I was able to release, oh my gosh, it did not release very quickly. I was there crying for a while and feeling it, and the lessons were coming and Jess held me so beautifully. But I realized that I had unconsciously decided that if the person who's supposed to love you most, one of the people who are supposed to, when I use air quotations, because you might be listening and like you might not have a relationship with your mom or your dad or both or whatever, and honoring your scenario. And I really love if you have a beautiful relationship with both of your parents, savor that. I love that for you. That wasn't the case for me. And that's not the case, honestly, for most of the people in my world. Most of the people who I know, who I love, who I feel super connected to, all the things. So I get that. I'm not a special snowflake here, but my story is my story. And I realized in that moment that I had made the decision that I'm bad, that there has to be something wrong with me, because there could be no other explanation as to why a parent, one of your two parents in this lifetime, not only doesn't want you, but spends 38 years trying to be as far away from you as humanly possible. Like there's no other explanation, except there is an explanation. The explanation is this actually had nothing to do with me. The explanation is I am a literal gift, and so are you. I am a prize, and anyone who can't see that fact, I mean this with love, but that's their loss. Like, I am so sad. I am so sad for that person. I am so sad that he doesn't know how funny and smart and brilliant and loving his daughter is, and what an amazing mother and wife and caring person that his child is. And I don't mean to toot my own horn, but like also toot too. And I think part of why I've become who I am is because on some level, I wanted him to want me. I wanted to know a father's love in that way. And like now I'm going to get emotional because many of you listening know that I have this very strong and deep connection to God and to Jesus. And I don't know if I'd had that strong of a connection to God and Jesus if I had a decent earthly father, but I don't. And so my relationship to father is very different than many other people who have a dad who's awesome, who coached their softball things and showed up to every show and da-da-da-da-da-da-da, right? Like I didn't have that, and that's okay. And so there was definitely a big spiritual reference for me as well. Jess knows that I'm a woman of faith. And so she brought in an element of God, of Jesus, of Holy Spirit. And that really sent me over the edge in the best possible way with the learnings and the lessons and the ahas. And standing here today, it feels like there's just this lightness, there's this levity now that I know what's true. And now that I have a completely different way of relating to this experience and to this particular story, it literally, the whole day, but especially that part, changed my life. And remember, here's the funny thing. I went into that day wanting some clarity around my business, around my career. And here I am bawling on the floor about the day I was born. And it just speaks testaments to the fact that like it really is all connected. And in this last week, the way that I have felt showing up in my business, the clarity, the own it energy, it is here, it is real. I was waiting till the very end. We're about to cross the finish line, but we did it. I can choose a new theme for 2026. I'm going to let this really ride out, but it's so incredible to see how all of these pieces are really, truly connected. And a lot of times, like some of the takeaways here are a lot of times things are not what they seem. What you think is the problem is probably not actually the problem, or what you think is the answer to the problem is also probably not the answer to the problem, right? And so there's just that so many different pieces here. A couple of other things that I want to share with you that came up. I think you heard me say it. One of the breakthroughs, one of the ahas was I'm the prize. I am a gift. I am a literal gift. It is a gift to know me, to be around me, to be in my energy. And I feel that way about you. Every single one of you here listening. I feel that about you, and I hope that you feel that about you. But there was something interesting around this lesson around I am the prize. Because from the very get-go, like the very beginning of our day, by the time we released shame, we were a little bit more than halfway through our day. But there was this natural metaphor coming up of a game. I personally love, and you can adopt this if you like it too, I love looking at life and business as a game. One of my top values, remember we did values elicitation, play and fun. Well, technically it's fun, and then a few values down is play. But like those are some of my top values. It should, and you probably know that about me. I'm gonna find a way to make it fun and playful because it's the only way I'm personally going to enjoy it. And if I'm not going to enjoy it, why would I do it, right? And so right from the get go, when the metaphor of the game came through, I was like, okay, I love this. And then my subconscious mind wove different pieces of that into the experience that day. And so one thing that I want to share really vulnerably with all of you is I feel like the way that I am being called to play the game of business needs to change. I think that there are things that I've noticed in the coaching industry, things that have popped up over the last like 18 to 24 months where I have unconsciously and unintentionally said, F this game. And I don't want to be a part of that. What became really clear was I always knew I was a pawn in my dad's game. I don't know like when I knew that. So the person who made it abundantly clear who didn't want me then took my mom to court to fight for me so that he wouldn't have to pay as much child support. And then on the weekends I was supposed to be with him, he would go out of town and he would leave me with my stepmom or her mom. And they were lovely women, like no shade on them. But I was just a pawn in his money game. I was just a piece so that he'd have to pay less money. It was insane to me. And I don't know if that was ever spoken to me or if I just came up with that on my own. But I think that on some level, I wanted to chuck all of the games because I don't want to be a pawn in anyone's game. I don't want to be a pawn in our economy. I don't want to be a pawn in the coaching industry. I don't want to be a pawn in his game. And so I kind of flipped the bird to all of it. And what I realized though was the only person I'm hurting by sitting in the corner pouting with my arms crossed, like F all of you, the only person I'm hurting is myself. I'm actually keeping myself disconnected from the bigger reason why I'm here. And so as we were going throughout the day, one of the big ahas was, oh my God, I'm not the pawn, I'm the prize. I'm not the pawn, I'm the prize. And I started looking at this metaphor of the game completely differently. And what I realized, and what I want to encourage you to do is, if you don't like the game that you've been playing, let's flip the table. Let's flip it the bird. You don't have to play that game anymore. But what is going to be required of you, and what I was missing, I was blind to this for the last 18 to 24 months, is you can't flip the table and then turn around and walk away and sit in the corner and pout. I mean, you can do that because I did that and it's been working fine, but I don't want to do that anymore. You have to create a new game. You get to create a new game. There's an India Arie song that I love that as I was having all this healing, I kept hearing it play in my head. And one of the lyrics she said is, if you create the game, then you create the rules. And if you just be you, there's literally no way you can lose. Full body chills. I've been listening to that song every morning for the last week. And so the invitation here is for you to really look at what is the game that you're playing in life? What is the thing you want? What is the prize? Maybe there's an invitation to shift the way you relate to all of this. You, my love, are the prize. You're not the pawn. You don't have to be a pawn in your health, in your finances, in your career, in your relationships, in any area of life that matters to you. And if you don't like the game you've been playing, maybe it's a game that someone else handed you. Maybe it's a game that you created and you're just over it. You don't have to play it anymore. But I want you to start thinking about what's the game you actually want to play. And I want you to write the rules. And the rules remind me of, we talk about this inside of Energy Expansion Academy. One of the rules, I was reminded of this rule when I was at the 5-day immersion by one of my sisters, and her mantra is, the more I receive, the more I receive. It's like, yeah, I like that. The more I receive, the more I receive. The better it gets, the better it gets, the better it gets, the better it gets, the better it gets. I'm a magnet for miracles. Life is not happening to me, it's happening for me. I don't even actually really like that anymore. There is a different level of that. Life is not happening to you. It's also not necessarily happening for you. It's happening through you. It's happening as you, right? And that really brings us back to us being the creator of our reality. It's a way for us to take back our power. And one of the things that came through in all of the clearing of this was, there ain't no shame in my game. There ain't no shame in my game, baby. I was so excited. I was literally dancing around. I loved all of these metaphors and references to creating new rules, to creating new ways of playing, to walking away from one game, to remembering that you are not a pawn in anyone's game. You are a prize in your game. That was the gist of this. I'm going to scroll through my notes here and see if there's anything else that wants to come through. As we start to round this out, I feel like there's so much more that wants to be said. And also, I feel like it's going to come through in pieces over the coming weeks and months. And I'm really excited to share that with you. It's so funny. I don't know what I was thinking. I got back from the experience last Monday, and I was going to try to record this podcast episode on Tuesday and release it on Wednesday. And on Tuesday, I was keenly aware. I was like, oh, there's a lot. There's a lot still happening. And I've had the invitation over the last week to notice how, to be completely honest, my days don't look different. I'm doing the same things I would do last week, but who I am as I move through my day is completely transformed. It's insane. It's miraculous. I have a list of a few lessons that came through in some of my clearings. And so I want to wrap up with this. Take what you will from this. Your shame, if you happen to be carrying that around with you, is lying to you. Shame does not tell the truth. That's not the game that shame plays. Your patterns, the way you do things, they make sense. The way that you think, whether you like it or not, they make perfect sense. And also, you're not stuck with them. You can change them. You can choose something new. You can go on a journey like the one that I was on, and I would love to lead you. I just want to do these, like host these, give these breakthrough days all the live long day, because I want everyone to feel this. This was like really, truly extraordinary. Being yourself is the greatest gift that you can give to the world. Really, truly being yourself. Freedom is possible. Freedom is possible. Freedom is also one of my top values. I say top, like top 10. It's not number one, but it's 7 or 8. And this experience gave me a taste of freedom that I did not know was accessible, was possible. And that has really been the greatest gift for me, just like what I'm feeling here. Joy is medicine. There's a part of me, and some of you know this, that there's this gift, I'll call it a gift of childlike wonder that I have. And I think I had a lot of shame around that. And what I learned on the other end of this was that the core of that childlike wonder is joy, and that joy is medicine. That joy is a gift. And that's something I personally feel really deeply connected to. You might as well, or you might realize there are other things that you haven't fully claimed or owned, and those are a gift for you to share. Your identity determines your reality. Identity work is so, so, so important. It is literally the deepest work we could ever do, because the way that we relate to ourselves determines how everyone and everything else relates and orients to us. You are the prize. You are the prize. And you can create a new game, your own game. at any point you choose. So that feels good and complete for today. I'm saying that out loud and I'm like, does it? Are we done? We're going to go ahead and wrap up here today. I'm really hoping that this episode was helpful, enlightening, expansive, and inspiring. Whatever you came here today, like when you chose to press play on this episode, I'm hoping that you got whatever it is that you were wanting. And as always, if you have questions about anything at all, please reach out to me. If there's any part of you, I cannot stop talking about how badly I want to do a gazillion of these. These are so incredibly life-changing. I have invested so much time and so much money in so many different things, and nothing has come close to this experience. Even if you go back and listen to, I don't know, episode 19 maybe, about my plant medicine ceremony, I got from this experience what I wanted from my plant medicine ceremony, and I was completely sober. I was completely in my right mind. Who would have thought that that was possible? I don't know. I didn't, but now I get it. This is life-changing. And so I really want to be doing more of these. I've done these, I've led these over the span of a weekend experience as part of high-level coaching packages, but I'm really excited about offering true breakthrough days. This is, I kid you not, when you think about 8 hours of coaching, this is 3 to 6 months of a coaching program in one day. And I feel it in my bones. I get it because I felt it, and I also got to give it and see it in front of my eyes. And so, not knocking, I will forever have 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, 12 months, all of those things. Those serve a purpose. But if you're wanting to have an entirely new experience of coaching and healing, and you are craving depth and nuance, please, for the love of everything, reach out to me, because I'm playing with structure in terms of what the offer is going to look like, and I'm playing with pricing. And I promise you that right now, pricing for a breakthrough day is going to be lower than it ever will again in the future. I just want to bust a few more of these out because I cannot get enough. This feeling is insatiable, and I want to witness this, and I want you to have this. So reach out. And also, this podcast episode is going to be going live smack dab in the middle of our holiday promos. This is going to go live just before Thanksgiving. We've got some insane offers. This is our biggest sale of the year. Black Friday is near and dear to my heart. It's a memory that I have with my mom. We're going to be together this Black Friday. It's a special girls' day. It's always had this really beautiful, energetic imprint. And so I love offering really fun, expansive things right around this time of the year. So feel free to check those out. I'll link them in the show notes, and I cannot wait to see you again next time.